Hello everybody and welcome back to another not applicable Formula 1 video. I hope that you're well and I hope you enjoyed the 2021 season, and what a way it ended. We've all had a few days to calm down, I hope, since Sunday, and it wouldn't have been the 2021 season if it hadn't had a crazy ending that was absolutely absurd in every single way possible, because that is just how this season has gone every single race. But as I said, we've had a few days, we've hopefully calmed down a tiny little bit, and I thought we'd just have a little discussion on what's happened since, because we know that the race ended in absolute controversy. Everybody watching was completely confused on what they had just seen, and nobody really knew what was going on. And as soon as the checkered flag fell, it was also Mercedes that then went in to launch two different protests to the FIA. One for Max passing under the safety car and just edging a tiny little bit in front of Lewis Hamilton's front wing. And secondarily, another protest for the classification of the race due to the safety car chaos that ensued in those last 5 or 6 laps. And both of those protests were actually swiftly dealt with. Obviously, we didn't know what was going to happen on Monday, but the FIA came out very, very quickly. The first of which saying Max Verstappen didn't really pass Lewis Hamilton under the safety car and actually got behind Lewis Hamilton as quickly as he possibly could. So there was going to be no investigation on that. And the second one, they used Article 15.3 to basically say, you know what, look, the racing director is given complete control and overarching authority over all decisions to do with the safety car. And before the race even started, everybody said that they wanted a racing finish. And that's basically what they've gone back to over and over again. They've said, Michael Masi, yes, there are 400,000 rules in this rule book, but it comes down to, on the day, sometimes those different articles and different interpretations of the rules have to be made for the circumstances in front of them. And everybody said they wanted a racing finish, and that was basically what they were going for. They went for pure entertainment purposes at the end of the Grand Prix. And it was a real shame, because Mercedes obviously went on to win the Constructors' Championship, but it really didn't feel like it, because actually Mercedes, after the season had ended, were looking to appeal both of those decisions, and it looked like it was going to go to a court of law very, very soon, even though, Max Verstappen had come out on top, and we'd had, clarification that Max Verstappen should have won the championship and was going to be a world champion. Then Mercedes were like, actually, we're going to step in, and this could possibly have run on into like January, February until we knew for certain who was going to be the world champion. But luckily, I guess, and in one way, I'm kind of glad that the Mercedes have taken this route. Lewis has asked for the protest to basically be withdrawn from what we've heard. So Mercedes decided that even though they could have put together this appeal on Red Bull, Verstappen, the FIA, and so on, Verstappen was actually crowned the official 2021 Formula 1 World Champion, and Mercedes have decided to, not go to court with any of this. That came to a real surprise for me, especially considering Toto said that in a regular court, they would have had a very, very strong case, and he was guaranteed that they would have won. I think the problem is that it wouldn't have been a regular court, it would have been the FIA court that they'd have had to gone to, and they'd have had to gone through all of those appeals and all of the processes. And Mercedes just kind of decided, maybe if Lewis Hamilton is going to win an 8th world championship, if it's going to be, that groundbreaking world record that he is going to get, and, nobody is going to be able to touch him statistically in any single nature in Formula 1, he kind of wants to do it on the track. He doesn't want to do it 2 months after the season is finished and, in a court in between. So it's said that it was Lewis Hamilton that actually wanted to drop the appeal. I can kind of see where he's coming from. As much as, he is a massive winner and Mercedes wanted to win everything that they possibly could, Lewis Hamilton wants to win everything that he possibly can. He probably didn't want to win it under those circumstances. And he knew that, in a few months' time, was anybody going to really care? And it was going to be so difficult for the Mercedes team and so much more, especially with 2022 coming up as well. They've got that to focus on alongside what could have possibly been months of court dates. It would have just been a huge, huge undertaking for the team. And you know what? Mercedes, however, did talk openly about how they have had disbelief in what they just witnessed and lost faith in racing. And that kind of worries me a little bit in that, they said that it was not right the way that the race was put together. And the FIA did rebuttal, saying that the matter would be discussed with all parties involved, as well as all the other teams and drivers, so that they could try and get this and draw lessons from it and draw lessons from the situation moving forward in the sport. But I was a little bit worried that Mercedes or Lewis Hamilton might come out with a statement saying, you know what, Formula One's not for us anymore, because they were really, really down about this decision. And, disbelief and losing faith in racing doesn't have a good spin to it, especially if you're the FIA. But in the end, it turned out that neither Lewis Hamilton nor Toto Wolff would attend the Formula One prize-giving awards, nor would the Mercedes Formula One car, obviously after winning the Constructors' Championship, nor would the Mercedes Formula E car after their win this year either. So, basically the Mercedes team, apart from Valtteri Bottas, it looked like, just decided to withdraw themselves from going to any sort of prize-giving. But the next sort of step is, okay, they've said that they're going to talk to all of the teams. They're going to talk to all of the drivers. They're going to talk to everybody who was involved in the situation, from the stewards all the way down to, people in the garages and people who were working on the racetrack during that time. What's actually going to happen then? What do we want to see? And I think the main thing that has come out of this so far is the team radio exchanges. That is the first thing that the FIA have talked about. This year, we've had the addition of hearing, radio communications between the FIA and the teams during the races. And, well, we've seen that, the teams are just constantly whinging and moaning about any single decision that does not go their way. Like, any decision that did not go Mercedes' way, the first thing we would hear on the radio is Toto Wolff. Similarly, for Red Bull, the first thing that we would hear is Christian Horner. And you have to believe that that's probably the same for all the teams throughout the entire grid. So we only really heard the Mercedes, the Red Bull teams, occasionally like an Alpine on the radio to the FIA. You've got to assume that all 10 teams are on the radio to the FIA almost constantly throughout the race. And, for me, it was as much as it's entertaining, as much as, hearing Toto Wolff crying during the last race of the Formula One season, and obviously saying that, that's going to live in my mind forever. Just Toto Wolff just having a little moan at Michael and saying it's not right. And Michael, can we please not have a safety car and all of these things? Like, those memories and those things are going to live on forever. But did it actually add to the sport? Like, realistically, I think that any input from the teams is obviously going to be massively biased towards the teams, and therefore doesn't really add anything to what the FIA are doing, right? You're never going to get clear, concise information from teams. You're always going to get information that is spun so that, if it's Mercedes, it benefits Lewis Hamilton and George Russell next year. If it's from Red Bull, it's going to benefit Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. You're never going to get like what they actually believe is like the wholly right thing to do from these teams. So I think the FIA and the stewards are already under so much pressure. This barragement of like moaning cannot help with their decision making. You've got to think Michael Masi is under so much pressure. He's got millions of people watching. And yet he's got 2 or 3 teams just chattering in his ear the whole time while he's trying to make really, really clear and concise decisions to try and keep this race going. And so what are they changing? I feel like this is the first thing that they really need to change. And Formula One are looking at removing the ability for the team principals to communicate directly with the FIA and with Masi. So nothing solid has been confirmed yet, but they're looking at trying to, relay this information in some way. And basically, the thing that's been put forward is either all of the information has to be put to a team manager. So it's not going to come straight from Toto Wolff or straight from Christian Horner to Michael Masi. It's going to have gone through, some stages beforehand before being actually passed on to the FIA or the stewards on the day, and basically putting in some sort of filtration system. So as I said, either that being a team manager, and then some have even said that there needs to be some sort of intermediary between the FIA and the team managers, almost like a fourth official in football. So you don't see Jose Mourinho you do see Jose Mourinho running out onto the pitch, but you shouldn't see Jose Mourinho, Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, those managers running out onto the pitch and barraging the referee. Instead, they have the fourth official to their left or right hand side in between the two boxes that they can go to and communicate with the referee through that filter of the fourth official. they're trying to think about a similar sort of thing for Formula One, where there is another official in between, an intermediary that filters out all of the rubbish that doesn't really need to be passed on to the stewards and then just passes on the key information. I think that that's a really, really good idea moving forward. The second thing that has come out from this is Michael Masi is under so much pressure. Like, so many race fans have called for Michael Masi's head after what happened in Abu Dhabi. And if you take Abu Dhabi as a case study, it's clear that Michael Masi has not really a clue what is going on a lot of the time and should have made so many more decisive choices and made them so much sooner. Like, he needs to be quicker, he needs to be more clear, and he needs to have a real identity within the Formula One paddock. I just feel like the team principals and the teams kind of know that they can maybe try and, unner him a little bit or bend him to their will. And yes, I've said, he's not helped by Christian Horner and Toto Wolff continually screaming at him, but that's kind of his job. His job is to, have those guys that are going to disagree with him, but know where the line is. Again, similar to football with a referee, the referee's decision has to be final, and it has to be, as uninfluenced by bias as possible. So Michael Masi needs to be doing the best for the sport rather than doing what he thinks is best for entertainment or best for an individual team or an individual driver. It has to be what is the best thing that he can possibly do to be as fair and as clear-cut as possible. And I think the FIA themselves have said that the circumstances around the safety car generated significant misunderstanding and has tarnished the image of this championship. And you have to feel for Max Verstappen, because it really has. People have not been talking about how wonderful he has been all season. He has been incredible this season, like continually one of the best drivers on the grid, if not the best driver on the grid every single race. And he has just been phenomenal, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about decisions that needed to have been made earlier on in the season and changes that need to be made upstairs in Formula One moving forward to make this a better sport. And Masi is obviously learning on the job as he's going along, and we've even seen, certain races he's decided one thing and then other races he's decided another as he's, learning to fill in these Charlie's shoes that are basically impossible to fill, let's be honest. But the FIA has been a shambles all season. We can point at so many races where things have just gone completely wrong, and so many inconsistencies and problems, and so many drivers who have come out and talked about how the fact, Michael Masi at times just didn't really know what was going on. And when teams and drivers and fans cannot trust the organization that is making the rules, the foundation of the sport starts crumbling down. So what is next? What actually needs to happen for Formula One? There needs to be something done and changed publicly so that this tarnished image of Formula One moves forward in a better light. Because I have so many people that have never watched Formula One before in their lives asking me to explain what's happened and explain what happened on the final lap of Abu Dhabi, because a casual fan or somebody who's not really into Formula One, they were tuning in for that final race. It was a huge selling point. And yes, you could argue, the FIA have kind of pointed towards that selling point over the course of the whole year. They've tried to keep the championship as close as possible. And in a way, they did the best thing for entertainment there, because so many people were tuning in, which is gutting, actually, because there was so much confusion that I don't think those people are going to be tuning in ever again. It was a chance for Formula One to truly capture this brand new audience, capture the attention of the world, and it was all over the media. In the UK, I've never seen Formula One be so massive, even with Lewis Hamilton becoming a 7-time world champion. I don't remember there being this much coverage and this many people talking about it consistently. And unfortunately, I think this race is just going to alienate those people from the sport forever, because it wasn't clear, because it wasn't easy to follow, and because nobody knew what was going on, including veterans of the sport who watched it for 50 years had no idea what was going on. The teams that are in charge of putting together these races for us did not know what was going on. How is a layman fan, where this is, their second or third race that they've ever tuned into, going to know what is going on? And the FIA have blamed fans for their ignorance and have been very, very defensive. And, they're going to come to the back of Michael Masi. They're going to support their guy in that seat. But personally, they're to blame for this. They have to take responsibility for the fact that they have alienated so many people out of the sport and have unfortunately made it so that there's going to be less and less insight, less and less, want for people to want to watch Formula One. And for 2022, there has to be something changed. Whether that is, the team radio's changing, there has to be a massive overhaul on some of the regulations that just have been brought up this season and are just ridiculous. I know that the rule book is going to have, nuances, and there's not going to be a rule for every single possible outcome, but there are so many in there that are just outdated and stupid. And Michael Masi, personally, I think this might be the end for him. I think we just need a top-down change, something new, something fresh, to go with the new regulations, to go with the new Formula One look in 2022, just a new set of FIA or stewards or whatever it needs to be, so that we can move forward in a positive manner. But what do you guys think? How have you reacted to the news over the course of the week since Max Verstappen has won his first ever World Championship? Are you still, not 100% sure about what happened in Abu Dhabi? Because I think there's a lot of people that aren't. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.